We're here in Alabama at Horseshoe Bend. It's a museum and a battleground, and it is a must-see if you're into history or history of Native America. As I mentioned before, Alabama, uniquely enough, their history of indigenous people goes back 10,000 years before Christ, BC. And part of the evidence of this is at 1200 AD, the mound builders were recorded here, and the mound builders were a religious and political group, and they held great power in central Alabama. You can see here to the left one of the mounds and the temple on top of it and the villages. And they collapsed in the 1700s as they were already in the process of collapse when Western intervention came about. But they were mentioned many times throughout history and were there for 500 years with full control and full population of Alabama. We're still in the museum at Horseshoe Bend, but this is a really cool painting. As you can see, the battleground of Horseshoe Bend, but in silhouette are the Creek Indians that are coming from the house here on the left, getting ready for the battle. And not to confuse you, but this is two of the styles of temples that were on top of those huge mounds that you saw there. And we're talking mounds that are over 100 foot tall. These would be the temples that are on the very top. Now, after the collapse of the mound people in the 1700s, the Creek people separated into several villages and little tribes and nations all up and down the rivers here. But even when they were recorded, there were over 41 nations here, different tribes and nations in Alabama alone. And this is in the 1700s. So this is one of the typical villages by the river, of course the river being on the left. And their sports fields in the center, big on competition. And this is a drawing of a Yucca warrior, 1730s. The Yucca were one of many tribes in the Creek Confederacy. Not trying to confuse you, but this is one of the cooler things I've seen in this museum. And it is a turtle rattle leggin, and it's a leg rattle formed by all box turtles. I'm not sure what they have inside for making noise. But here's also a turtle shell formed somehow into a bowl, and the bowl is made from turtle. You can see the turtle shell plates. Just to give you an idea of what the Creek Indians look like, this is a picture in 1734, a drawing done in London, England, of Chief Tom O'Chee, forgive the pronunciation, and his nephew that went to England. Now here's some paintings of different Creek chieftains done in 1826. On the top left would be Menawa, and we'll see more of him later. To the right of him is Tustenugiji Emmanuel, also called Jim Boy, and also later known as High Head Jim, of the hostile Creeks in Battle of Burnt Corn Creek. Directly down to the lower left is William McClintock, who led the Creek troops, allied with General Andrew Jackson. To the right is Selota, was a Creek scout and interpreter to Andrew Jackson during the Civil War.
Swim the river, steal canoes, and begin ferrying men.
After the Battle of Burnt Corn Creek, in retaliation, 1,000 Red Sticks, which would be the people who were for England, attacked Fort Mims, a fortified settlement in southwest Alabama. Almost all of the 260 inhabitants of the fort, including men, women, and children, were slaughtered, though most of the victims were mixed-blood Creeks who had adopted white ways. Some may have been white. I hate to keep jumping around, but this is the Battle of Horseshoe Bend, and this is a model that they've constructed showing the battle where they came to the narrow part of the Horseshoe Bend and attacked the wooden fortification, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. This would be the typical dress of a Creek Indian warrior in the year of 1814. This, of course, is a reproduction, but they would all wear the same shirt and sash and leggings to identify them as Creek warriors. Any personal embellishment would be either jewelry or tattoos. On the other side, of course, is a British soldier. Sorry, I misled you. This is a U.S. infantry soldier of the 39th Regiment, U.S. Infantry. Sorry. Interestingly enough, this is Davy Crockett. Although he wasn't at Horseshoe Bend where we are today, Davy Crockett was a scout for Jackson during the Creek Wars, perhaps best known as his historic stand and death at the Alamo in 1836. He became a symbol of American frontier spirit during the Jackson era. As we look at the fate of the Creek, Cherokee, and other southeastern Indians, Jackson's presidency was devastating. Long promoted by Jackson, the Indian Removal Act established an Indian territory west of the Mississippi River, thus allowing white to pursue what was seen as the manifest destiny. Once in Indian territory, the Creek established new towns and villages, often with the same name as those they had left behind. Some Creeks seeking to escape removal joined the Seminoles in Florida. Others managed to stay in the South, where their descendants still reside. All in all, a very proud people.